Hello and welcome everybody to this webinar, SDL and Service2Media joining forces for dynamic mobile app solutions. Presenting for you today we have Svante Nilsson, Group Alliances Director for SDL, and Peter Brokerloff, Founder and CTO of Service2Media. I'd just like to go through a few housekeeping things first. I'd like to welcome you all to this webinar. We want to give you some of your time back this afternoon, so hopefully we'll keep it to 45 minutes. Everyone on the line is on mute, so if you do have any questions, please direct them to either the chat box or the Q&A function. The webinar will be recorded, so we aim to distribute the recorded webinar and webinar content to you all afterwards, and all the material will be available for you to share. So I'd like to now pass you over to Svante Nilsson.
Thanks, Matt. And while this may be your first introduction to SDL, chances are that you're very familiar with many of our customers. And I personally believe that the best way of introducing SDL, or any company for that matter, is to do it through the eyes of their customers. So we are at SDL. We are very pleased that we are helping 76 out of the top 100 global brands to optimize their customer experience. And this is whether it has to do with marketing materials, support content, web interaction, or product information. So I think it's fair to say that SDL helps shape the experience of products that you probably use in your daily life. So no matter the size of the company, I think the total experience that you provide to your customers directly determines the time and money that they are willing to spend on your products and services. This is all nice and dandy. I mean, it's all fine. I think we all can agree to this. I think the challenge that we see today, and that's really sort of accelerated challenge the last couple of years, is that today's customers are very, very volatile in the sense that they are flipping between tasks and channels. They are also choosing to engage with different type of devices to perform different types of business tasks and interactions with your brand. So SDL, the way we look at this is that customer experience management is very much a strategy, and the challenge and the key here is how do we manage all these experiences across multiple touch points? How do we acquire, retain, and turn those customers into brand ambassadors over time? Now, simply put, what it's all about is enable customers to get the information they need when they need it, at the right context and the right language. Now, when we go out and engage and we talk with organizations today, I think we can boil down the discussion into three big pillars, or three business requirements: insights, orchestration, and contextual experience. At this point, we like to refer to it actually to pillars of success when it comes to defining and executing a global CXM strategy. So if we start with insights, this is all about understanding your content effectiveness. What type of content resonates for which target audience, which channels are used, what type of things do they prefer to use, what type of content does no longer resonate, and so forth. It's also about tapping into the social conversation today and create this box of information or insights that you can actually use of moving forward. Now, orchestration is what we call the challenge many organizations face today to align organizations' processes and content creation and content life cycles through multiple channels. Now, it's quite easy if you just look at this from a product launch or from a standalone campaign. But if you really want to bring this into a business process, how do we make this a repeatable process that actually becomes the DNA of your organization? How can I repurpose content across multiple channels and so forth and make that part of your business process and how you engage with your customers? Now, needless to say, it all should be targeted towards creating this contextual experience, and that is for different languages to be relevant and so forth. So I think we're not going to go into too much detail here, but I think that is the end goal of everything that we're doing today, and also what we're going to see from Service2Media as well. Now, end goal is really about delivering this personalized experience. And what we have done within SDL is to deliver and start building a technology stack to support this end goal. And it all starts from a content management perspective, where we have localization and translation capabilities attached very much into this content management layer. Based on that, you can actually zoom in on different aspects and create campaigns and so forth, reach out to different target audiences, and you will be directly supported from analytics, data, statistics through all this. On top of this, we have targeting and personalization services. So this is very much like key core technology aspects of what we're delivering today. Now, for SDL, going forward, we are in a transition in terms of a lot of our customers are transitioning their technologies. We see a lot of re-platforming of content management, targeting technologies, digital asset management technologies, as well as capabilities of delivering towards different channels. We are very keen to partner with the best type of providers in this area to provide an all-encompassing platform for our customers. And we are very, very pleased to be able to welcome different technologies into this space. And in this case, we're going to talk about Service2Media in a few more minutes, which I think has a very, very important role to play when it comes to omnichannel delivery. And omnichannel delivery is something I think we see a lot in the press today. I think analysts are talking a lot about it. And just to make clear, this is actually a fundamental shift as compared to multi-channels or cross-channel type of delivery. Omnichannel delivery is really about creating this all-encompassing touch points so we keep track of the customer journey across multiple channels. It's not about templating content for specific devices, not about templating content for specific use cases and so forth, or landing pages and stuff like that. That was sort of the challenge we had 5 years ago. Now, if we zoom in on mobile, I think a couple of years ago we all talked about the mobile channel. Today, we will see that it's a very fragmented channel today. And whether we talk about mobile web experiences or mobile apps, if we're going to zoom in today, there are a lot of different devices and operating systems today that we need to take into account. As an anecdote, I think I remember this like 10 years ago. I think one of the first questions I got was, do you want your website to be optimized for Internet Explorer or Netscape? And I think we all think that's a pretty ridiculous type of statement or question today. However, if you look at the multiple devices, we see a lot of organizations struggling finding a sustainable strategy on how to reuse business applications, branding guidelines across multiple devices going forward so you can meet time to market deadlines and so forth. And that is one of the key reasons that we choose to partner with companies such as Service2Media, which has a very interesting platform for creating those type of mobile apps experiences. So with that little short introduction to SDL, I'd like to hand over the presentation to Peter Brook-Roloff from Service2Media. Peter?
Yeah, thank you, Svante, for giving us the opportunity, Service2Media, to be at the partner spotlight today. We'll talk indeed about apps and how to build sustainable mobile apps, like you said, and how that supports the customer experience strategy. First, before we dive in, I think it's very important, and Svante already highlighted that. It's not just about technology, but it's around the whole sphere of people, the objectives, the strategy that should be considered first before we dive in the enabler, because without technology, it will be hard to have a customer experience strategy. Basically say that the customer experience, of course, starts with looking at the objectives, the audience, and the strategy around it, and that technology is an enabler. For the ones that don't know Service2Media yet, just a brief introduction on the company. We've started the company in 2005, now with 130 FTE, purely in mobile apps and mobile app platform development, with sales offices mainly in Europe, one in the United States, and in the Middle East as well. We started in the Netherlands in Amersfoort and Enschede as a host country, and operate also from London sales office. Like Sant already said, we also think that the companies we work with are an important indicator on which direction we go. And as you look at the customers we have been working with, it's mainly in the media and financial space, some government utilities as well. And basically we combine two important assets, as we call them. One is the enterprise grade, let's say, and with a lot of focus on security. You see them on the left side, more in the financial sector, like Achmea, Rabobank, and Dutch police, for example, in the government. But also in media, and there it's combined with a high user experience of apps, and we'll talk about that later, obviously, with the likes like professional media companies, Elsevier, Springer, but also with news agencies like Al Jazeera. We can't do this all by ourselves, of course. So next to SDL, we work with enterprise software vendors like SAP to integrate with back office systems. As we tend to say, purely focus on getting the best apps on the client side. So we integrate with server side, but don't deliver necessarily proxies in the middle. It's just client-side app development. Just to continue, 3 years ago, Eric Schmidt of Google basically said that companies should develop for mobile first, because then you could get richer applications with location and other things. And I think enterprises just heard that, but didn't see the customers moving yet. But that happened very fast, because what we now see that from 2010 onwards, mobile banking apps and all kinds of apps that are now very popular started, and users that use those applications didn't use web in many cases anymore. And now we see mobile banking is a good example. We see that more than 60%, this is in the Netherlands, for example, more than 60% of the mobile transactions already goes via the mobile, and 25% use their mobile more than web, and even only on mobile. So that trend is now followed by many enterprises that start with mobile first thinking, and as a part of their total customer experience strategy, of course, together with web. So this is why many enterprises look at Service2Media, and it's more or less, if you want to remember one thing after this presentation, it's about our app lifecycle platform. It's a tool that helps you to make it a lot easier to counter, let's say, the challenges that you'll have in the mobile app development space. More about that later. First, some of the business challenges that companies face with going mobile. First is a multi-channel communications challenge. We often see still many silos in the customer experience, what we try to do is with the platform is to bring this experience on multiple screens to multiple brands, that's one of the business challenges. Another one is the brand consistency. It's important to have the same kind of branding throughout apps, web, etc. And this is of course where we have worked on with SDL to get that right. And on the customer engagement side, we've invested a lot in the user experience. You look at features that you can have in apps, like of course the look and feel, but next to that also, can you, for example, send push messages to get even more conversion? How can you be relevant and context aware, online and offline use, and personalization of apps, and these kind of things. this is what the marketing managers or the business managers more or less look at. And if we then look at the IT challenges that many companies face that look at app development, it's one of the things is the OS and device fragmentation. Svante already mentioned the OS fragmentation, where you of course have Android and Apple, and we'll see if Microsoft where it goes with Windows Phone 8, but that might become also a relevant platform. Next to that, there are a lot of mobile initiatives already in many companies from the business side, and they are not all consolidated and centralized yet, but there is a trend that IT managers are looking at those applications. So hey, they don't have the brand consistency that we expect. We haven't checked the security yet. We want to reuse many of the functionality, like authentication, for example, or social media features. So the whole manageability of those initiatives of app portfolios within companies is an objective to have to make that easier. And another one is that we see is that there is, when you look at app development, it's obviously not just the development, it's the whole concepting, the design phase, the integration into deployment. So there's many disciplines in the whole creation of apps, and we see some gaps there. For example, and we'll come back to that example, is the gap between designers and developers, where the designers are often more on the business side, developers really in the IT department, and they are not only organized in silos but also have totally different mindset, where it's not always easy to understand each other. Like a developer say to a designer, hey, this is a nice design, but I can't. You can't do this on mobile. And the other way around, if something has been developed, then designers think, hey, this is not what I intended. And I think across the whole value chain, we have seen that there's a lot of waste in terms of miscommunication. Then all those things together basically trigger into a direction that, like SDL is developing and offering tooling to enhance the customer experience in many of the channels. For the app channel in particular, also, in our opinion, need a platform that hides the complexity, the device complexity, the technology complexity from the functionality that you actually want to achieve. That's basically the horizontal bar at the top of this slide, where you see in potential app roadmap, you want to maybe add interaction to your apps, more personalization, more push or video or transactions. And you can do that without bothering too much on which device and which form factor and these kind of things. So that is exactly what we try to do together with SDL, where the SDL platform already contains all the personalization and statistics parts. M2Active as a platform basically brings a solution to deliver that to multiple operating systems, to multiple brands, multiple languages and form factors. And in a few slides, we'll try to emphasize a few things there. It's all built around the concept of designing the apps once and deploying them on multiple devices. This is the main mantra of our platform, and hence we have created efficient multi-OS development platform with on the one hand a high user experience and an enterprise-grade methodology that fits in enterprise development life cycles, the tool chains. To emphasize the importance of this a little bit is that on OS fragmentation often is thought about the development only, right? The Apple and Android, for example, you need a different language, you need another tool set to develop those apps. But in our experience, it's across the whole life cycle. Our designers already are working cross-platform. They are designing cross-platform with all the expertise there and the tools and templates they use to make a cross-platform design. And then the platform takes care of making the specific changes that you need to make it a real Apple, an iPhone app, an iPad app, or a real Android app. The same counts for integration and testing. So testing on multiple devices. It's also cross-platform, and deploying to multiple app stores. Push technology uses multiple push networks. So the OS fragmentation is not only limited to the development, but across the life cycle. I think it's an important notion to understand. Then where do we believe the market is going? This is often a slide that we use to paint the landscape a little bit. Maybe you're all familiar with this, but just to highlight a few things here. It's on the right-hand side is the native development paradigm, where you indeed use the specific development tooling that is offered by the manufacturers like Apple and Google, and you get a great user experience potentially, but the cost is also significant because you're developing in more or less a silo. You get a code base for each and every platform that you need to maintain later on. Then on the complete left-hand side, the reaction could be, okay, I can do that with web as well. Let's just extend and stretch our web development. And sometimes that, for some applications, is also a good idea, of course, with a design specifically made for the mobile device and the mobile form factors. But in between, there's, I think, the most interesting common ground to try to get best of both worlds. And that is on the one hand to get a better user experience than on the browser, and on the other end to keep the cost under control. And there's the hybrid approach to take more web browser look to make a container of your website, and the approach that we have chosen, Service2Media, for a near native approach, which means that you'll have an almost native experience. We use the native controls of the different operating systems. So an Apple, an iOS list view, an Android list view, they're really the list views that you'll have in a native app. But you'll develop it with a single source code. So that's the idea around our approach. So it's not a web app that you have a container around, but it's ultimately a native app with much more possibilities and also much more, let's say, possibilities to get to the device itself. Then the question always asks, what is in the platform? It's a tool on the desk, right? So you'll get the interactive development environment, an SDK, in which you can build applications that can be sent to the App Store and appear ultimately on the device, which consists of a script. This is a single code base combined with a runtime that is specific to the device. And this runtime is built in native code, and hence the performance of this app is again similar to a native app. And the user doesn't see it, of course, the split in software, but it's a very efficient way of doing it. It's called the runtime model. I think it's good to use an example here. Like we said, we are working with many customers. You can outsource your app development, of course, but you could also in-source your app development and basically get more control yourself. And this is what Achmea has done. Achmea has built an app factory for themselves, so they have a big IT organization and said, well, we'll have a pretty big pipeline of apps and app portfolio, and we are training our IT people to work on the platform of Service2Media to develop our apps. So now 20 people trained, and the selection criteria were indeed the things we've talked about. So the multiple app development, the user experience and security, enterprise greatness, and the integration that is possible with SAP, the mobile platform of SAP. And what we've seen there, we're now 2 years partner of Achmea, is what we've seen is not just about the platform, but we've been helping and together as partners with Achmea to set up the whole process of the app factory, to train people, to basically get all the things you need together to develop in-house apps from the concept to the deployment. So it's not just about the platform, it's also about process and people. And I think this is what you have to take in mind when you want to in-source app development, that is has a multifaceted approach. And you can also, of course, ask partners to do the other things. Then I think I'll come back on one of the gaps that we mentioned between design and development of apps. We think tooling is one of the things that can help greatly there, so to get better communication. What we already said is often does a designer design things that are not really cross-platform. And on the other hand, it's very important for him to know what is possible on platform. And we have built an application. It's an iPad application or an Android tablet application in which you can design the app and it directly generate code for it as well. So I'd like to show you a short video, and I'll do the voiceover myself to explain it even more. Yeah. This video is made for the app, as you can see. So what you now will see is an iPad screen, and on the right side you see the layout managers, as they're called, and you can pick those and drag and drop them to the screen, to the iPhone screen on the left. There's also data views and controls, so the things you need to build an app are in there. If you drag and drop them on the screen, you can basically fill it with the artifacts that you'll need. It can be images, it can be drawn from your internal cloud, for example. It can be locally on the device. And basically those are images that the designers have made in Photoshop to do a very short sketch. And with this designer tool you can make the whole interaction design, and you can really make it make it work. With the live update button does, and you'll see this here, is that it really appears directly on the device. So there's an app running on the device. If I put a list view there, it directly appears on the device, and that's possible because the script code is sent to the device, and is more or less a brain transplant of the application, which is very good for prototyping purposes. Well, the tool gives you all kinds of possibilities in the middle pane. Next to selecting images, as is done here, it offers the possibility to put the dimensions, the margins in millimeters or percentages. On the right hand you see a whole screen structure. So we don't go through all this video, but here a screen is built up, and we'll press forward a little bit here to explain even more. So even more images are shown there, and you now see here a dark green background that is replaced with light green because it's easier to read, and this color picker is an HTML5 element. So the platform facilitates the use of HTML5 elements and also native elements if we need them. The margins can be changed. And all these things appear directly on the device that you can have in your hand and show, for example, to stakeholders in an organization and say, hey, this is how we want to build the app. This is purely UI. You can see if the font type is changed, and it changes on all the devices as well. This video goes on with, for example, a button there on the right side. So you can make another screen, and that the screens point to each other. And then a very interesting feature is that I press on the export button, real code is exported, and designers use that in their interactive development environment because they can then have the UI code, and they'll expand it with a real backend integration. So, for example, to the SDL content management platform via OData. So that's the part that needs to be coded yet. But what is done here, this is a map, for example. It's interesting to see this is now shown on an iPad, real life. But if you would take an Android device, then the Android map would be shown, so the Google Maps. So it's a real native map that you see. Wait a little longer, you see here the link. The link is to the other page, and now you can really use it as an interaction design between those pages. So this is a movie of, what is it, I think 3 minutes, where 2 simple pages are already made, and it's good as a prototyping tool, but also to bridge the gap between designers and developers, because now you can't design anything that isn't possible on the platform, and the developer exactly does what the designer had intended, because he already has the UI. Much more complex projects than this, of course, can be done with the studio. So that's what I would like to say about that, and we are approaching the Q&A session. For more information, there's the demo, the website, and much more information we can talk about later. But I guess we're approaching the Q&A session. I would like to hand over to SDL again. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much, Peter. We do have a question in the Q&A box. I think it refers to the slide, the Academia slide. And I just wanted to find out some more considerations that should be put into place when building an app in-house or outsourcing to a partner. Do you have any thoughts to share on that?
Yes, we have. And if you are in the beginning of such a process of deciding, then it's, I think, good to know that you keep the options open for a while, we would say, because taking it in-house, well, like we have said, it's a multifaceted thing. So it's not just a developer that you have to hire, but it's also a design that you need to make, and you need to know how to deploy. And there's a lot of things to cope with. So to keep that under control, that might be for a first project a bit much. So what we see many companies do for their first app is to outsource that part. But on the other hand, if you're looking at app portfolios and you have a strategy of building more apps in the future, that isn't a sustainable strategy either. So then it would be better to for example, choose a platform or any kind of a mechanism to at least make it manageable in the future. You could outsource the work for the first app to parties that have done it before. And then work in a kind of a cooperation mode. That is what we often see, is to first develop an app and then work together with a company, and we've shown the Achmea example. And then ultimately the developers have been coached and trained on the platform, and they can do it themselves. So then you're before you know it, you're developing apps in-house. But just starting in-house without having any expertise, that's in general a hard thing. So that would be, I think, the preferred scenario.
Great, thank you very much, Peter. That's it for the questions. I'd just like to thank you again, and thank Svante for presenting. I'd also like to apologise for any technical issues we suffered throughout the webinar. We will be tidying up the recording and distributing it to everyone, so do look out for that. We did keep our promise, and we kept it under 45 minutes. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Peter, and thank you, Svante.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.